Hello and welcome to Insights in Action with Orange 142, where we interview agency leaders and business owners to uncover the journeys, the strategies, and the insights that drive their success. At Orange 142, we're all about transforming brand stories into impactful digital experiences through innovative media and marketing solutions. And today, I'm very lucky to be joined by Brittany of 51 Blocks. How's it going, Brittany?
It's going well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Brittany, I would love to just start this off by learning a little bit more about you, your background, and a little bit more about 51 Blocks.
For sure. So I started my journey as an SEO account manager, actually. I'd gotten my MBA as a stay-at-home mom, was looking for a job where I could stay at home, and digital marketing was the draw way back when, about 15 years ago. And I worked my way up in an agency. I became the COO and held that role for a while, and then I became the CEO. So I currently am the CEO of 51 Blocks. We're a white label digital marketing agency. And we're also a client-facing white label. So we do pretty much everything after cash collected for our partners.
Wow. That's really interesting. So you actually, because you hear about the white label and they're like, hey, you just need to put an account manager in place and we'll do all the background work. But you guys actually do everything and you have account managers in place. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's one of the ways we felt like we could have a good competitive advantage because with a white label agency, it's a dime a dozen, right? Like a freelancer is sometimes just as utilized as a standard white label agency.
Right.
And so for us, it really came down to what we're great at, which was fulfillment. We started as a retail agency and we're really great at delivering a good client experience. And so we thought maybe we can learn how to white label the systems and put the right people in place. So it's super cool. We have a US based team that does all of the brand management underneath an agency's name. And then we have our fulfillment team that's global. And it's just a well-oiled machine. It's one of the cool things about the way that we have grown and the way we've developed our systems is anybody, regardless of size, could utilize us for themselves. And you're dialing into an agency that's already scaled up. So you don't have to worry about a lot of the ceilings and breaking
Yeah.
points, which is super cool.
That's awesome. And so 51 Blocks is built around the just sell method, which combines, if I'm not wrong, fulfillment and staff augmentation. Can you explain how this approach helps agency owners scale while they stay focused on growth and client acquisition?
Right. So when you're growing an agency, one of the biggest things that will consume your time is people management.
Mm.
And what a lot of agency owners don't realize when they think, oh, I'm going to start a digital marketing agency and I'm going to collect all this money and I'm going to have all this time freedom is that you really get stuck in the weeds growing a business. You have to manage the people, recruit, train, right? As you grow, you'll start to put managers in place, but then they use your time and like it just becomes a 60-hour, 80-hour work week really quickly. And so the Just Sell method was really developed to get burnt out agency owners back in the seat of sales and marketing. These are the guys who really are still just stuck in the weeds of their business. They could be generating 60K in recurring revenue a month, but they're still doing client management and on every project and onboarding and like all of these things. For people who have small teams, it's really great because you can have a small leadership team and then just utilize us after you've closed a deal. We do onboarding and everything like that. And then the other use case for us, which has really proved to be a great model, is large agencies. So let's say you just do websites and ads, and you're like, you know what? I want to pivot and start offering SEO, great long-term recurring revenue model, but I don't want to build an SEO team. I don't have any SEO knowledge to even probably create the SOPs or do the QA or anything like that. They can utilize us to build out full departments under their brands where it already has every manager in place, the ops team in place, every system in place. So it's just a cool way for people to bolt on a full department.
So would you guys say that you work best with new business owners who are just starting out their agency and want to maybe good at sales and maybe good at acquisition, but not so much at the fulfillment part? Or would you say that you work better with established agencies that want to just tack on that department?
It's a great question because technically speaking, we can serve everybody.
Yeah.
We're a month-to-month agency, no contract. Like you could have one client here. However, I think we've found our sweet spot to be people who have hit the pain points of growth. So usually people who have had at least 10 clients currently under their agency brand and anywhere upwards of that. are a really good fit because they've hit the pain points of doing it all themselves, not knowing how to scale the systems, not knowing how to scale the team, like really facing issues with recruiting and people management. I think for people who are just starting out and they're like the one-man show, we have great partners who actually are selling machines. Like they're amazing at it. A lot of times they've come from like Facebook or some other place and just want to develop their own agency, but they've been in our industry, so they understand how it looks at scale or some of those things. Someone without a lot of knowledge in our space, like let's say they are in finance and suddenly they want to develop a digital marketing agency, probably not the best fit because they don't understand why we do what we do, how we do it, right? Like they just don't quite get the groove because they haven't experienced anything other. So yeah, I would say that's like our avatar is usually you need at least 10 clients to really gain the most out of this.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I want to turn it back to your story a little bit, Brittany, because it's really interesting. Your journey from SEO account manager to CEO over 7 years, it's pretty inspiring. What were some pivotal moments or lessons during that rapid rise that shaped your leadership style?
Yeah, it's cool to think like, wow, not a lot of people have done this. I'm also a stay-at-home mom. Like I've
Yeah.
been a stay-at-home mom for 17 years. And I think a big part of what like the aha moments for me have really come down to remembering what it was like to be in the shoes of the people I manage.
Mhm.
Like, I think when I look back and I realize what types of bosses and leaders I had, I always made a little checklist in my head of like what I don't want to be like, right? I looked at it like, if I ever get the chance, like, I'm going to do this different. And I've always led with my heart. I'm a very empathetic person. I'm actually an introvert. So a lot of my time was spent developing relationships one on one with people. And when I got into operations, I realized it's a really hard job because if you're too heavy into heart space, you take everything personally. It's a harder time to manage people because at the end of the day, they're all adults. And if they're not going to do their job, right, they're not going to do it. But if you take it to heart and you take that on your own shoulders, you're going to have a hard time focusing on what you need to drive the business in the right direction. Going from an SEO account manager to an operations manager and kind of managing just the SEO department was my first step up the ladder. That was cool because I was in more of a peer space. Like I was like the senior to them. I definitely faced a lot of issues with people, I think, taking me seriously when it needed to be. I remember my boss sat me down and put me through this like trial by fire and wanted to see me have a hard conversation with the team. And I did, and I got through it, but it felt weird.
Yeah.
I remember that just being like awkward for all of us, but it's part of your growth. And then when I got into more of the COO, that was when I really started to understand the business itself, the profit,
Mhm.
like how all of the parts need to work in order to make us accelerate growth. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So there were quite a few moments where I think there was just some learning to get over the funny feeling of working with people who were here and now I'm here. But yeah, I think if you really build genuine relationships, those people end up supporting you at the end of the day. I'm very lucky. I have a lot of people who at this agency have been here. They're celebrating their fourth anniversary with us. So they've seen a lot of my growth. Yeah.
That's cool. It's always so interesting. I've seen this. I'm no CEO, but I've seen going from a sales role, I come from digital marketing sales, to a leadership role, how there are these like challenges that come up that you're just like, it's like you're fighting the boss to get to the next level. You know what I mean? And you have to do those over and over. You have to have that first hard conversation. And then eventually those I don't want to say they get easier, but they become more manageable at some point. And then like, as you're talking, you can see all of the levels that you've had to go through to get you to where you are. I'm sure you wouldn't trade in any of it, but it's what a cool story. You don't hear too many people going from account manager to CEO and in a short time span.
Yeah, it's been great for the agency as well because I know their job. And so
Mm.
my decisions are based off of a firsthand experience,
Yeah.
knowing what it's like to be an account manager, knowing what it's like to manage operations.
Mm.
And one of the bigger learning moments for me was to go from more of the integrator role. We've practiced EOS. I'm sure if you know anything about it, you've got a visionary and an integrator. When I took over the agency as CEO, I had a year of mentorship to get me to stop thinking like an integrator. And it's so naturally in me. It's one of the reasons I loved SEO. It was like all of these little tiny bits and pieces that form this huge picture. And becoming a visionary and looking at things from that 50,000-foot view is very different.
Yeah.
You can't live in the what if and like the
Uh,
outcomes. You really have to live in this imaginative space. And it's a challenge. I still find myself teetering. I'd say I'm more of a hybrid.
mhm.
My brain naturally can be that COO. I can look at all the parts and the pieces, but I have to sit in a seat of visionary now. And so this is a very different world.
Yeah, you have an experience that not a lot of people have. Integrators are usually integrators in a system like EOS, and visionaries are usually visionaries. So it's pretty cool that you had that year of mentorship. And just to dive a little bit deeper on this, as a female CEO, you're passionate about supporting women in business. How do you foster an inclusive environment within 51 Blocks, and what advice would you offer to maybe other women that are looking to break into leadership roles?
Yeah. So the first thing at 51 Blocks is it's an even playing field. We don't recruit with gender in mind. We really give every single person the opportunity to sit in any seat that they work hard for. I was given a yes. I was thankfully put in the right seat, and I had somebody who said, let her try. And I worked really hard for everything that I have. Nothing was handed to me. And so I like to be able to give that to everybody else. If somebody comes in as an SEO account manager and wants to be in a leadership role, let's create the path. Let's create the KPIs. Let's get you there. So regardless of who they are in our agency, I've always felt like if they want it and they work hard towards it, it's very achievable because I don't live in a space where I feel like your development is only limited to your resume. I really feel like everybody is capable of gaining skills on the job and becoming a new version of themselves. When it comes to females specifically, as working in digital marketing, we are the minority, right? You don't see a lot of female CEOs. You don't see a lot of women outside of these operations roles. When I became a CEO, I thought long and hard about what I wanted my platform to be, what I would stand on that soapbox, right, and talk about. And I just felt really passionate being the minority in most rooms that this could be a space where I could help elevate the people who you don't necessarily see in all these masterminds and all of these spaces where a lot of men are elevated, right? They're the speakers, they're the ones who are getting a lot of the kudos, but there's lots of women still. And so I felt like that was going to be the platform I wanted because that was kind of me. Like that was really where my path was. I can't tell you how many times I would walk into a room next to our previous CEO and people would assume I was his secretary or his wife. Like they never really attached that C-suite name to me. And so that was a good driver in it and wanting to do it. At 51 Blocks, I'm lucky enough to have an all-female leadership team. And these are truly people that earned the position. They've worked with me for years. And one of the biggest things is that they modeled by themselves without me coaching the type of leadership that I have, where they care about their people, they care about the clients, they put, again, their whole heart into it as it's just part of their personality. And I found that by doing that, one of our goals as people who run agencies is to get the business to run without us, right? Like that's
Mhm.
essentially what a lot of people would love to do.
Yeah.
The key way I have found to do that, because thankfully I can now go on vacation. I haven't been on a sales call in I don't know how long. I'm very detached from more of the day to day, is that I found people that model my leadership style because that's what made it so special when I was a COO. Yeah, that's part of the way that I like to help represent and elevate. And I think women have a very nurturing spirit to them. We're a fulfillment agency at the end of the day, which is cool because it, again, in a lot of operations roles, you do find that there's female leaders and plenty of them. But I really wanted to make sure that people could have an opportunity to earn those bigger seats, right? Like we all have that potential.
Yeah, even Orange 142, our agency is woman led. Our CEO, Lindsay, same thing. A lot of what you're saying, there's a lot of parallels, and we're very proud to be working with her as our teammate. And I want to shift gears a little bit, and I want to talk about your agency because you guys operate on a global scale with a white label model. How do you ensure consistency and quality in your services while managing teams and clients across maybe some different regions?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's hard. There's no easy answer to this.
Yeah.
A big part of it is how I restructured the team. When I took over, I knew I was not going to find myself. I just knew there was no other person out there who was going to sit in my COO seat while I became the CEO and was going to be able to execute at the level. I had 6 years of working here to get to that place, right? I wasn't going to just put somebody in there. So the first thing I did was I took apart my role and decided on micro roles. And I filled those seats with people who could execute at 100% those micro roles. So I have someone in charge of customer experience in the ecosystem. I have someone who's in charge of SEO and driving results and strategy. I have somebody who's in charge of sales assistants and quotes and stuff like that. So I put together the leadership team based on a lot of the responsibilities that I used to carry as one person and could never really fully achieve at 100%. So that was the first thing. Second thing is that as you grow, you have to have people who actually check the work of the people who are supposed to be executing the work. So I think a standard structure in a lot of agencies is we get client success, right? You have a CSM, and then you get an account manager. And there's your secret formula to like the
Yeah.
combination, right? What they don't realize is as you start to get all those, now you have a lot of people to manage. Who is checking to make sure that the account manager implemented those title tags and headings, right? Who is there to make sure that the pace for the accounts is on track?
Yeah.
So, in a lot of traditional agencies, you'll have your operations manager and they may have some KPIs around that. We developed a QA team, and that QA team goes in and they check everything from pace to result KPIs to everything that kind of help us be proactive in case someone is fumbling, in
Yeah.
case there's an issue on the forefront. So finding a way to structure your agency to become a proactive, not reactive team,
Yeah.
it's a great model. I don't see a lot of agencies doing it. I see a lot of traditional models. So that was a way that we found a secret to managing at scale. From a global standpoint, we only really develop and serve in English. And so try not to like start doing things in Spanish. I think if we expanded too far, we would lose, I think, a lot of that quality assurance because we wouldn't have a way to check it. So for us, it's just staying within the guidelines of how we can do it.
Awesome. Wow. Wow. That's, I love that first part of what you said, especially there too. I think CEOs, business owners, they waste a lot of time trying to replace somebody who is left by, or replacing themselves elevating by trying to find that person who can do it all. Right. And we know that like if you replace your old position, you're only at max going to get 80% usually. That's like the kind of the benchmark. So hearing that you had this like problem solve around that of like instead of just trying to find that one person and spending a lot of money trying to find that person, let's just break it my role out into micro roles, and there's a little bit more accountability that way. And that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Brittany, thank you so much. This is awesome. Where can people learn more about you? Where can people learn more about your agency?
Yeah, so 51blocks.com is our website, and you can
Mm.
reach out to us there. We serve the US, Canada, Australia, the UK. Our team of CSMs is also global. So we have people in various time zones to be able to serve clients. And the biggest thing here is that we're really just on a mission to help support those burnt out agency owners or the people that are just struggling to figure out scale. And that's the beautiful thing about our model. As a white label company, we're based on relationships, which is why we have no contracts, right? We don't want to work with anyone who wouldn't want to work with us. And a big part of what we do is just to serve. Everybody here has an attitude of service. We're here to hopefully change the language that people use when they talk about white labels as well. Trust and reliability is a big core value of ours, just to make sure that everybody feels like they're our one and only, no matter their size. And so we put a lot of effort into that.
I love that. Awesome. Brittany, thank you so much for being on. This is great.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.